that makes sense. That makes sense if you were so.
Jacob Randall Holmes. Hi. How you doing? Well, thank you. Not there yet, but tomorrow.
Graduating CAM seniors, please stand up. Come on up to the stage. Come on up. You can sit up here. All right.
Wow.
Let's see. Hang on. Maybe more. Graduating contemporary, any major. Stand up. Come on. Let's see what happens. We'll start this way.
Sammy's good. Oh my gosh, Sammy's good. Graduating contemporary seniors.
We have one more seat. Where's our outstanding senior? Is she here?
Fight to the death.
Is he here? This is tough. You know what?
That's why I laughed. I'm gonna do contemporary for bro.
Trent. All right, we're good.
Raise your hand if you have an empty seat next to you. Okay, there's one seat here. There are two seats up here. Find your seat. Find your seat.
That last straggler dude.
Hello. Just hello, everybody. There's a camera crew here, so I just want you to know that. So this will be about the best audience a camera crew could ever have, because you're all here and you're really excited about what you're about to see, and so are we. This is just what a great way to end a great year. So let me see if he's ready.
Hurry up.
Okay. So please welcome to the Frost School of Music, the truly, we use this word, but we don't always use it correctly. We use it correctly today. The truly incomparable Jacob Collier.
Opportunity. When we found out just a few days ago this was going to happen, we got really excited. So, welcome back to the Frost School, man. 2018.
2018. Hi, everybody.
And,
How you doing?
let's just sit for a few minutes. And, I don't want to take too much time from what they're all wanted to ask you, but love it. Stereo.
Yeah, stereo, right?
Yeah. You might have phase cancellation.
It's the future.
Yeah, you can move them around, yeah. A lot has happened since you were here last. And,
True.
And You're in the middle of an awesome tour. Your new record sounds amazing. Told you earlier, I particularly like the track you did with Camilo. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So, how's it going? Like,
Hey, man. Yeah, not bad, thanks. You?
Going all right? Yeah. Hanging out? We're at the end of the semester.
Yeah.
All these people think they're graduating,
Party time. Yeah.
especially the ones on stage.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Hey.
But no, seriously, the best questions are going to come from everybody around us here. So I think we just, what do you think? Open it up and.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Should we sing quickly first? Okay.
That was ridiculous. I've only ever heard that from the audience before. Hearing it from here, what do y'all think?
This is the best seat in the
This
house.
is the best seat.
Every night.
Unbelievable.
Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to hear you talk about your hobbies outside of music.
Oh. Paddleboarding. Badminton. Mango hunting. Yeah. Fellow mango hunter. Right? Yes, my man. Love it. Walking, running, exploring, climbing trees. A lot of people just taking notes. I love it. Gosh, what else? Sleeping when I remember to do that, which is hard. I often forget. Feeding Jethro the crocodile. He feels so at home in Florida, incidentally. He's like, yes, the motherland. Yeah. I mean, music also includes a lot of my hobbies as well as like my professional job. It's also just really fun, so I think of it as also part of the fun. If that makes sense. Great question. Excellent. Very good. Yeah.
Is there a genre of music you don't like?
No, not really, no. I think there are genres of music that float my boat harder than others on certain days. But if I ever hear something I don't know the way into, I think of it as a challenge. Like, it must be me that's listening to this wrong, not the thing inherently that's bad or wrong. It's like, how can I modulate my perspective rather than it to improve it? Which actually goes for a lot of things in the world and life. If you tweak your inner sort of vista or change your aperture, sometimes it's like, oh, I see. I understand. Oh, I see. Yeah. And some things in life are clearer when you squint your eyes. And so I think genre can be a bit like that. Like the first time you hear something might be like, I don't have any reference points for this. What the hell? And then you think, oh, maybe I'm just maybe I'm listening to it wrong. It's like in The Matrix when it's like you bend the spoon. What is it? There is no spoon. You bend instead of the spoon. Something like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Question.
How do you balance inspiration and originality when you create music?
Oh, I suppose I don't think of them as separate things. Inspiration and originality. I suppose you could say, inspiration comes from other people, and originality comes from you. I guess that's the root of what you're saying. I don't think of it. I don't think you have to be the first person to do something to be original at doing it. I think that's an important thing to say. I think that sometimes what's original is a perspective. It's actually kind of a similar answer. It's like what's original is a perspective rather than a skill set or a knowledge set or something like that. So you can present something in an original way because it comes from you. That's what makes it original, is that you are choosing to use that as part of your language. I think of music as this like massive amassment of language, and you build a language out of stuff that matters to you, and nothing is off limits. So I suppose with the inspiration process, you just absorb everything you like, even the weird stuff and the stuff that's non-musical or the stuff that's cranky or cobwebby or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. Mango, the mangoes are great though, for real. But I think so. And then I think when it comes to being original, what's original is a combination of things rather than the things themselves. So I might think, I'm going to put E flat with B, with D, with F sharp, and I didn't invent any of those notes, but I chose to combine them in that way to activate a sentiment that I might be experiencing, and that's what makes my choice original. But I also don't think you need to be original to be interesting either. It's like, I think in some ways there's a myth that you have to do something that no one's ever done before, and that's how you're going to cut through and whatever. But it's like, in a sense, that's not really what life is is where life is at its best. It's like, it's nice to go and meet people where they are, and then modulate the experience to kind of suit yourself in a sense. You can't just kind of come out the gate and just be doing something that no one's ever done, by any means. And yeah, I think to summarize, I think a lot of my favorite musicians and music is a recombination of past elements, which is all we can ever really be. And it's the choice to combine that makes it interesting rather than the inherent originality of the materials. That makes sense. Yeah, no problem. Question from the back, Mango Hunter.
Hey Jacob. You just mentioned that inspiration comes from other people, and I wanted you to extrapolate a little bit on that, because I've talked to some other amazing humans, and a lot of people mention that they find inspiration from some higher source, and it's like in spirit, taking the spirit in. And I wanted to see if you share any of those ideas and how your creation process, how it works. Do you actually connect to some sort of a higher spiritual channel?
Yeah, great question. I think of them as the same. I think other people are the same as a higher spiritual channel, if you know how to extract the magic. Yeah. Because to me, if there is a higher being, it's what powers all of us to connect with each other. And if you look for any kind of divine spark of any kind or genre or type, you can find it in basically everything you ever look at. Almost every force in the world is just love in disguise, even if it really doesn't look like it at all. So people just feel like, yeah, a lot of the confusing forces in the world are people really trying to love really hard, and it just kind of comes out wrong or something. So there's always the divine present in everything, and so yeah, when I think about making music with other people, which is kind of like this process in the last 10 years, or even last 60 since I was last here, like on this campus, because when I was last here, I'd made it in my room, which is now I made by myself, and I loved that process, and it was so crucial for me to do that and be a self-crafter and understand the depths of my own sort of where my edges were in a sense. But then the whole of the Jesse albums, which has all happened since I was last here, was all about that, finding the divine in others and understanding and being challenged by like surfing the wave of other people's energies, right from me and one musician to me and a choir or orchestra to like 100,000 voices all around the world, and that trajectory of kind of learning how to find and offer whatever permission I feel like I can give to be like, you just go, man, just go and do your thing. That always feels like the most divine part of life to me. More than if I'm sort of like in isolation and absolute silence, just kind of like being, there's some deep peace to be found there, but this is where it's at. This is divine to me. If that makes sense.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Question.
Hey, okay. Hey, fan. I have a question. You're one of like the biggest names right now that's a bridge between classical and contemporary music. I'm a classical violinist myself, in a world of contemporary musicians. What would be some of the things that you hope you do with that influence over?
Oh gosh. Do you know what? It's funny. I don't think too hard about what I want to achieve with my influence or powers very often. Which is not to say I don't want to achieve things with them. But in a sense, I almost feel like it's like slightly outside my control. I think my job as an artist, which is anyone's job as an artist, is to follow what really deeply interests you and to kind of just be aware of how that perspective moves you, and then thereby you might be able to move others. So in a sense, my ambition ends at just make really cool music, including classical. I was brought up by mostly a single parent with two little sisters, and my mum, who brought me up, is an incredible violinist, classical violinist. So I definitely kind of fell deeply in love with that as a premise. I remember sitting when I was like 1.9 years old on my mum's lap, and just kind of, she would play violin and I'd be on her lap, so I'd look up and I'd see the violin, it was like the ceiling. So amazing. So you're inside the music, you're literally, I'm in the violin, And that feeling just never leaves you, so I find myself more and more as I sort of grow older, really, like, you can't, in some ways you can't necessarily escape the foundational musical influences that drove you first. And so I think of it as unavoidable that I will be dancing with, for example, the violin, but also the whole of classical music. I mean, I was brought up so deeply on Bach and Stravinsky and Bartók and Britten and all of those guys, and I think of it as this amazing, sort of deep, inescapable source for me of so many things I care about. But I really enjoy the sparks that fly when you combine that with some of the majesty of, you could say some of the more contemporary musicians. And I feel like there are uncharted territories for me as a listener that I want to hear. And in some ways it's quite a good, well, I sometimes find it a helpful way of thinking, to think, make the music you wish existed. It's as simple as that. Like, I wish that existed in my head. I may as well make it. And so one thing I do feel about my sort of whatever position or influence or something in the world right now is that what's exciting and sometimes a bit dizzying is just the creative potential for stuff. So, imagining, for example, a bridge between this particular kind of classical music, this particular kind of rock and roll, or Indian classical music, or South American music, or whatever. It's just like the depths of these different temples of my understanding. I feel like there's just like more than I will have time for in my lifetime to collage and combine those elements, but they're all really important to me. And I'm sure I'll end up writing something for orchestra soon, because I think I wanted to do that when I was a kid so much, and it makes sense to me to do that. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So a minute ago you were talking about like you didn't invent any of the notes, but you still do something original. So I want to ask, like, if there is an artist, who's been your greatest inspiration?
Oh, Stevie Wonder. I thought I'd say Stevie Wonder. Why Stevie Wonder, you ask? Well, I mean, first of all, because because it's blind. No, that was a joke. No, so first of all, I think I just loved him immediately without question, which is like always good. If you like something without question, then you really deeply like it, and you haven't sort of contrived yourself into subscribing to it. When I was 2, 3, 4, it's just like all time Stevie Wonder. And then I discovered that he played all the instruments on his records, and he was involved in so many different elements of the production of them, which I just thought was so cool, and so it was so inspiring for me as a kid to think, oh, so you could be like the drummer and the bass player, and that's so amazing. And then I also just think he just stands for joy in the world, and I think I was quite a sort of joyous being. I'm sort of drawn to people and sounds and elements of the world that just kind of light me up, and I just think of him as really an unapologetic sort of joy bringer. I will say about joy that I think joy can sometimes be misunderstood as like happiness or cheeriness. Like, yeah, joy, yeah, everything's great. But to me, like, joy is broader or even deeper than some of those kind of principles of like, let's all just like get along great. Because I think joy can be also about like grief and sorrow and uncertainty and a lot of the dark parts of life. You can also find joy in them. Again, by sort of modulating the perspective, you think, gosh, yeah, there's joy here, there's joy in this complete unknowing I'm experiencing, or like a real pain or whatever. The joy in it is not like, it's kind of like that there's life force in there. I think a lot about vitality and how sometimes we prioritize certain kinds of vitality over others, and in some ways we don't give credit to vitality just for showing up in the first place. So there are some days where I feel really vital, and it's not necessarily in like a way. I feel vitally like angry, or I feel vitally, I'm just like, I'm struggling, or I'm indecisive, but it's like there's a part of my system that's just like, I've learned to always be grateful for vitality showing up, kind of regardless of its form. And so I think joy, in a sense, sort of encapsulates all of what vitality has to offer, but it's about the alchemy from whatever state it is to a more open or a more communicative or a more cathartic state. And that's what I think about with joy. And Stevie doesn't just write kind of like happy songs. He writes songs about the whole world in different shades of colours and different tones of emotions. And I love that he's open and fearless. I could literally talk about Stevie Wonder for the remainder of this masterclass if you ask me to. But the short answer is I say yeah, Stevie. Very cool, very cool. Yeah.
Me?
No, young lady in a black and white. Yes.
Oh, great. What is your creative process like, and how does that change when you work with another artist, and how do you usually approach? Obviously, you work with so many different types of artists and different types of singers. What is your approach like, depending on which artist you work with?
It's a great question. When I set out on Jessie, the collaborative quadruple album I just finished, I didn't. Thank you. Ow! I really didn't have a sense of what collaboration was about, just because I hadn't experienced very much of it. So I was really open to like, what could this be? Where could this go? And what I've learned, I think, is that, I mean, maybe it goes without saying, but there's literally not one way that works for everybody. And you have to be a little bit of a chameleon and a shapeshifter when it comes to adapting yourself to suit the needs of whoever you're working with. So, for example, working with T-Pain is really different from working with Umo Sangare. Or like, you know, doing a vocal session with, say, Laura Mavula is really different from doing a vocal session with Tori Kelly. You know? And I think what's different are sometimes like the intangibles. You know, some people like being given quite specific instructions. So Tori, for example, kind of really gets a kick out of you saying, actually, I'd like you just to do vibrato on that third note more than the second note, and maybe just like rise up like ooh instead of ooh, just like rise up to the note, and she was like, got it. She's just amazing like that. Whereas someone like Remy Wolf, who I adore, is just, if you try and give her any instructions, she's just like, no, not interested, you know. And that doesn't mean that she's not like equally as powerful as Tori, but she just has a different set of components that like light her up. So my job is to be a lighter upper, really, as a collaborator, to think, I'm going to create, thank you, just to create like the right environment for someone to say, I'm going to present something that feels free to me. And you know, with Uma, who I brought up, who's, I don't know if you know Uma Sangare, she's one of the sort of masters of Mali, like an extraordinary singer from Mali, or Jessie Volume 2, amongst a huge, vast career. And she doesn't speak any English. So collaborating with Umu was really interesting because we could only really communicate in kind of like, yes, that thing, you know, or like, yeah, you know, and that was really cool because it sort of reduced my communication skills to the most important things, like the most important axes of music, like the big, it's like big, no, but smaller, bigger, longer, shorter, you know, which is exactly the same way that the audience, welcome. Exactly the same way that the audience choir works, actually. It's like, it's all built on really simple axes. Big, small, high, low, you know, shapes. And if you try and do too many complicated things with audience choir, then it just kind of falls apart. And so yeah, with Umu, and also Hamid El Kasri, who's another amazing musician from Morocco, who I work with on Jessie Volume 1, who's like a massive hero of mine. Again, he just began English. So for me as a collaborator in that situation, I need to be like a primary colour presenter with clear decision-making powers, which I don't always possess. I also think, because I'm the kind of person who enjoys changing shape, sometimes I've realised that me changing shape too much is actually unhelpful for the collaborator. If I'm constantly morphing myself to suit them, then sometimes some people it really works with, like because they want to sort of take hold or take lead, have ideas, and certain other people it makes them feel quite unsafe to contribute ideas because there's nothing that's going to oppose them. And some people like to be kind of like held to account. I'm a bit like that actually. Like if I'm collaborating with someone who's constantly morphing to me, then we both just go like for the whole time and nothing gets done. So yeah, there's not really like a right way to be as a collaborator, but I think what I've really enjoyed the challenge over the last few years is just like how to safely morph when necessary to essentially just present like an environment for people to feel really free in and feel really safe in. I think that goes for a collaborator in a studio, but it also goes for an audience. And you know, like the comfort I can hold for myself and for others is actually much more important than anything I play or even say. You know, it's like that thing that Maya Angelou said. It's like you won't remember what people did, you won't remember what people said. You'll remember how people made you feel. I think that when it comes to collaboration, it's kind of just like about how much of that connection you let in, regardless of what happens, or whether the song is intended to be on the album or not, or it's just for fun, or it's whatever. You just say, I'm coming in with no agenda. I'm just going to be me and listen. It's like a dance in a sense. You think, okay, because if you dance with someone and every time you lean on them they just disappear, then that's hard. Maybe to dance with them. And if you dance with someone who's just bored, won't move, that's also hard. So it's just about like learning how to bend in the right ways and enjoying the tensions and all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
Very cool, very cool. Hey, question?
As someone who's had like a lot of success and a lot of critical acclaim, things like that, do you ever feel pressure to keep improving, keep putting out things that are better than the last? And if so, like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, good question. I think most of the pressure I feel comes from myself, because I feel like I've tasted what's available in my imagination, and I just feel pressure to like realize what that is. I think, obviously, you know, people in the world have expectations of everybody, regardless of how sort of public-facing they are. I think when I was nominated for Album of the Year in 2021, that was definitely a weird moment for me. It was fun, but it was also kind of like, what? Because I think I'd created a lot of, I think it changed the state of my creativity, I think, in a sense, because it was such a steep kind of incline. I think one of the things I've been most grateful for in the last 10 years is that I haven't really, maybe potentially aside from that moment, I haven't really had a moment where my trajectory has kind of like leapt up overnight. Like I haven't had like a great big hit song that like everyone's talking about, or like whatever. It's just been like a really kind of gradual process of me just expanding and then my audience expanding, which I just feel really lucky for, because there are a lot of musicians I know for whom it's just been kind of like bang. And it's funny because people think, oh, that must be the best way of doing it. You definitely need a sudden influx of pressure and responsibility in your life. Like that's going to go great for your creativity. And it's not true. It's really not. And I think in some ways I've had the kind of luxury of being able to adapt to each stage of the pressure as I've gone along. A bit like if you're scuba diving, you sort of like, rather than go like, you sort of go like, and your body sort of learns, okay, I'm down here, I'm down here, I'm down here. Or maybe scuba diving's a bad word analogy, maybe it's more like that way, I don't know, like hot air ballooning or something. But yeah, I remember playing my first gig for, well, I actually had a bit of a weird first gig. My first gig was opening for Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea at the Montreux Jazz Festival. For 3,000 people, yeah. That was great, that's crazy. But then after, with a show I'd never like run before, a one-man show with like, it was just quite a bizarre scenario, but after that gig and a few other things, I went on tour and it was like, 100 to 200 person venues, and I slept on friends' couches, as you say, or we say sofas, and just kind of hung out but I remember the feeling of the pressure. It's like, you have all come to see me, so I really should show up for you. Like this is a thing. This is a little bit scary, And then you kind of adapt throughout that process to be like, oh, actually, I'm comfortable here. This is all right. And then the next tour was more like kind of 500 to 700 person venues up to 1,000, and 1,000 felt like, gosh, this is really a lot of pressure. 1,000 people are here to see me, Jacob. What am I supposed to do? And you kind of get in your head, then you get out of your own head, and then the next tour around was bigger venues, and this current tour I'm on now is in a sense it's like it's another stage of stretching. The first show on this tour was like an arena in Toronto. It's like 8,000 people. And you stand there and you think, how can I reach all of you? It goes so far back, because the audience goes all the way back here, but then it went all the way around like that as well. And you can't really prepare for moments of challenge like that. You just have to go through them and do them. And but I felt the same doing that show as I did when I played my 100-person gig. It's just that I adapted. We're very spongy as humans. You kind of adapt to the scenario that you're in. And I would say that the pressure at times has been quite weird, and it makes you question, oh gosh, why is it? What have I got to offer? What am I really doing? Or everyone else seems to know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. But then the truth is, no one knows what they're doing, and you come to realise that. I think the Album of the Year moment was definitely a moment for me where I thought, oh gosh, the world really has expectations of, like, what am I representing? Because people were saying, like, what's your agenda, man? Like, what's your agenda? You've been nominated for Album of the Year. Like, what's the point of all this? And I'm thinking, well, there isn't really a point to all of this. I'm just a person doing what they want to do, musically. And it's so funny because people like to think, you must have an agenda here. There must be something. What's the big message we're trying to say? And it's like, I don't know. I'm just figuring it out like everybody else. And so I think realizing that, and that everyone else is going to do that too, helps alleviate some of the pressure in a sense. But I think the only person I really want to kind of like adhere to, or you could almost say impress, is like me ultimately. Because I know if I'm excited by something, then I would hope that others will be excited too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Very good. Question.
How do you tend to manage the logistics of putting together a huge project like this and then putting it on tour? Because, certainly less glamorous and philosophical than the other questions so far, but I think it's kind of a question that we don't like to ask too much, but I think it's very much necessary.
I so agree. I think that's the most glamorous question so far, probably. Nice. Thank you. logistics, yeah, it's really tough. And I'm constantly thinking about this, and I'm constantly optimizing this. So maybe it helps just me to explain everybody on my team, on my artist team, because some of you might be thinking, what's going on? And it's important for people to be open with it. So I'm the artist, you could say, CEO of Jacob. And to execute an album, put on a tour, you need different kinds of support. In a broad sense, first thing to say is, there is no such thing as one structure that just works for every musician and every artist. And every single artist team that I've interacted with, through mine or directly, through the Jesse album process, has a different team set up. And no one's really figured it out. There's no such thing as a team that is just 100% immune to problems and miscommunications and confusions, and it just happens with teams. So that's one thing to say. But in a broad sense, you need someone to manage, agents to manage touring and to book the shows, help book the shows. I say you need, but this is more just like sort of what's done in a sense. So there's the agents part of things. There's the distributors, people who upload your music into streaming services. And then there's someone to look after your money, in a sense, so like an accountant of sorts. And then there's this kind of nebulous term of management and what management is, which I've always had a funny relationship with, because I'm kind of self-managed in a sense. Like I make all the decisions, I do all the social media posts, I edit all the videos in Premiere, and so it's just kind of like this process of just like, I think people look at artists and think, oh yeah, they must have like a big team doing all this work, and it's just me looking for the best thumbnail on my iPhone after every gig. And it's just me like assigning keyboard shortcuts to like cut, drag, move around, edit, everything, forever. I've always done it since my first YouTube video, and I really like it. It's a good process. The thing that's really hard is time, and also attention, because you only really have two main currencies in life: your time and your attention. That's it. You can make any reality of your decisions to use those two things in ways that suit your priorities and what matters to you. Nothing matters unless you decide it matters. Kind of simple as that. You can say, it matters to me to be really famous, or to have a bunch of money, or to live in a fancy house, or live in a really small house, or to have no money, or to get along well with my family, or to burn bridges with my family, or to have lots of relationships, or have one big relationship, or get a degree, or it's kind of like, and these are all valid pathways. You just have to kind of tune in and listen to what you want. What do you want? What would you have if there was no chance of failure? What would you do? It's a big question, but to me, it all starts there. And it's like if you dare to imagine you can have everything that you want. It's important to spend time there, because it's not that what you think you want is even what you need necessarily, but the process of living unapologetically in that world will teach you a lot about where you want to go and who you are. And when it comes to being an artist or a human or any of these things, and assembling you could say the cooperative components needed to execute your reality. So for an artist, some of these cooperative components manifest as a team, people in a team. It all comes back to what you want, and there's no such thing as everyone wants this, or this one solution will help everyone. In my experience, I have not yet found that team. But when it comes to management, I was saying before, to go from philosophical into very literal again, I have a few different people on my management team currently. In a primary sense, one who manages, you could say, business management, so manages things like artist deals, doing deals with artist teams. And some artist teams are absolutely lovely and will do everything you ask for, and others will be really stubborn and ask for lots of money and things like that. So you have to just kind of be prepared to be like, okay, we're going to do this negotiation, and like these are the, my job as the CEO, you could say, is to be like, these are the Jacobian values. When like you treat everybody with respect, you treat everybody with kindness. You're warm, you're open, you're slightly irreverent when necessary. You don't toe the line, you make up your own rules, and you just kind of, and like you don't boss people around, and you don't bully people or manipulate people or seduce people, you know. You just kind of like, I mean, you can if you want, but you don't use these tactics to like get your way, in a sense. And so like I think a team just grows out of whatever values you hold. And some values I can articulate, some others I can't, you know. Some of the more wiggly stuff is just kind of like, it's just me. But yeah, in an essence, like that, those are the people in place. So with the album, you know, there's things like, well, I would say I probably do like an uncharacteristic amount of the work myself, as far as artists go. Like, I mixed all the albums myself, I produced all the albums myself, I played most of the instruments on every song. This isn't the only way to do it, but it's the way that felt right to me. But then, yeah, then when it comes to reaching out to artists, I mean, I guess, yeah, I also DM the artists, and I'm like, hey, you want to collaborate? And I also like host the artists in my studio. So I don't know. I think you have to kind of solve these problems as they go, and yeah, there aren't they're not like concrete solutions, but it's like a huge logistical craziness. And my team are extraordinary because they're so patient and they're so hardworking and they're so determined to get things right. And they trust me and I trust them to execute things fundamentally. And you know, like one thing I've realized about myself is like I don't actually care that much about money. And this is one of these things that I've kind of realized recently. It's like, oh, I think maybe I don't mind too much about that. Like if I wanted to make lots of money, I think I would just be making different decisions. But you know, this tour, for example, this year, is really expensive, and I'm not really making any money from the tour, but I absolutely love touring so much that I need to do it. And so I tend to prioritize making something deeper, bigger, more proportional, more lights, having crazier things, more instruments, so that things can feel better than like, oh, I got to walk away with a profit. But other artists definitely feel different ways, and that's fine. So I guess to sum up the answer is like, it's kind of up to you what matters to you. You figure it out, and you don't need to know off the bat what matters to you. You kind of just need to get started and make things. But what I would suggest is start by making things, and then figure out how to build a business or a team out of it. Like it all starts from there, and I did 13 years of that before I hired anyone. It was just all me in a room, producing things and making things and doing things from age 7 to 20. And then I was kind of like, oh, okay, so. Well, and then I got an email from Quincy Jones. And Quincy Jones said, oh, I'd like to help manage you. And I was actually really suspicious. I was kind of like, I love you, Quincy, but I don't know about management. You know? And then over the sort of next few years, I began to work with Quincy's team, who are really cool. And they helped me kind of figure out some of the first problems in my career, like how do you release an album? And how do you go on a tour and all these things? So I've kind of learned from them and from other people too. But yeah, I've always been an advocate of you can do if you understand the principles yourself. That's like a really good place to start. Does that make sense? Okay, brilliant, very very good. Question. What's up? Good to see you.
I wanted to ask you specifically because that's one of my favorite things is how people relate to your pieces and what they can make of what you created. And for example, Ocean Wide Canyon Deep is a song that's had a crazy significance throughout my life.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I wanted to know what it's about for you. Like, and maybe you could play a little bit of it.
Yeah, this may come as a surprise, but Ocean Wide Canyon Deep is about my cat. Yeah. I had 2 cats growing up, and one of those 2 cats sort of was with me from age 10 to 23. And so, like, loving cats. Cats are so great. I'm such a cat person. Okay. Happy to unite. And and this cat, Ivy, what's her name, was getting older and coming to the end of her life. And I was writing this song, and she used to walk into my room in London and just jump on the desk and sit and just sort of like drink my water out the cup, just hang. And so yeah, in a sense, I would never really say like a song's about one particular thing only, but she became a really big part of that song. it's almost like sort of like this companion that's just kind of there, like with you, like unconditional pet love, you know. So yeah, like in a broad sense, it's kind of about that. But the ideas at play, like companionship and trust and journeying, and I think these are things I think about a lot anyway. They come out when I start writing. So yeah, I have not played Ocean Wide Kennedy in a long time. What keys have you been in? It starts there, doesn't it? Yeah. It's actually tuned to A = 432. Yeah. So I can't perform it. She's ocean wide, canyon deep, from open eyes to twilight sleep. She's in the sky beneath my feet. Oh yeah. I said to her, don't wait for me. I watched you grow, you set me free. Go spread your wings, tell me what you see. You see. It's the same chords though, isn't it? And what I find, you'll never know. You'll be far ahead, and I'll be long ago. I'll be here, even when I go. You know. Unspoken words I long to say, I'll save them for another day. I wish you liked along the way. It's this bit where it's like, but if you want me to, I'll always go. You will always find you there. Kind of. Paint a picture of the world you see. What you see is all the centers in the world me. We hold each other as we go around. What do you see? Whichever universe it is we found. day is cold, the night so long. Gonna take some more to erase the storm. I think of you from dusk to dawn till dawn. Thank you for asking me to play that song. It's really nice. I need to go learn it now. Yeah, it's nice to climb back into that little climbing frame for sure. Shout out to Lauren Ravula who sings on that song as well. One of my favourite artists. Oh yeah. Question.
Okay. Hi Jacob.
Hi.
Love your Crocs.
Thank you very much. Okay.
So my question is, a lot of us obviously are musicians and aspiring musicians and artists. So I just wanted to know what advice you would have to people coming up in this industry, kind of starting with nothing, no connections, whatever, just to, hopefully be where you're at.
To do the thing. Yeah. Oh gosh. I think when it comes to advice, I've been told a few different things over the years that helped me, and they're different kinds of advice. Like I remember someone once saying to me, "Don't try to be cool, be warm," and I really, really loved that. And it's quite a philosophical way to start the answer, but that's where it's at for me. Like I think there's so many people trying to be cool. Everyone's like, "Oh, please." You know, like they want to buy into it. They want to buy into a thing. They want to belong in a particular thing or whatever. To me, the world just really needs warm people, and I think that when you do things with warmth, they really matter to people. Another thing I'd say is that I think there's a big difference between reaching a lot of people and moving a lot of people. I think that they're different principles, and we have a whole industry right now that's built around this idea of optimizing reach. You know, and it's crazy. Like the metrics around reach nowadays, it can be really dramatic. Be like, oh my, I've reached 40 million people with this silly video I made about pizza, for example. But then when I try and release a record, no one's interested. You know, and it's so weird. It's this really strange kind of bright packaging culture where people are really starved for just genuine stuff. And so what I would say in a world filled with bright packaging, competitive marketing, people just desperately trying to be, accepted and everything. I would just say, do the warm thing. Do the thing that feels warm to you. And that's not to say, be really sort of a puddle on the floor and because you can do things with deep integrity with warmth. Warmth is a deep state. But I think overarching, I'd say that's a good place to start. I'm also a weird person to answer the question in a sense because my journey was quite particular and also I think quite unique in a sense. I personally have never tried to make music in order for other people to like it. In a sense, I've never thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make this song to appeal to blah 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 blah. I've genuinely just sort of followed the thing that I've been interested in forever. I've never bent from that line. And because of that, in a sense, I think I may have a little bit of a rose-tinted idea of the music industry. It's just do the thing you want to do and then just keep walking. But I also know a lot of artists who've had the same experience as me in that sense. It's just I just kind of did my thing And it was bringing me so much joy that I just wanted to keep on doing it. And because of that, people were compelled to it. And I think when it comes to the difference between reaching people and moving people, I think, in a sense, I think the question I ask myself a lot is like, how many people did you free today? Rather than did you entertain or like show yourself to. It's like freeing someone actually is very simple. You can free someone by smiling at them on the street, or like holding a door for it's like, oh, thank you, or taking something lightly, holding space for people. That to me feels like a great metric, and it's crazy the power of it when it scales to an audience, because you have a lot of people, all of whom are capable of freeing each other and others, who are all on your side because you've shown yourself to them to be able or willing to seek that kind of feeling. And so, again, it comes back to the thing of like, what matters to you, and building things off of that. But the way I did it was, I became so interested and fascinated in the thing I was making that I just forgot to think about anything else. I was just like, I'm just going to go so deeply into this craft and this process. And I honestly don't remember thinking anything about like, oh, I want to have a career, or I want to, build an audience, or I never even thought about going on tour. I just thought, well, I know I like this. I'm just going to do this, and because of the way I was doing the thing, for whatever reason, people were kind of like, oh, I think there's something in this that's interesting, and or maybe even somewhat refreshing, because I wasn't trying to compete for people's attention. I was just kind of trying to make things that meant a lot to me. So yeah, I'm so bad at networking. Like I don't go to like events and like hey, here's my card and scan my QR code, and I've never been that way at all. I would almost say I was like too much the other way. I was just like I don't care about that stuff. I'm really just gonna stay indoors and do the thing. But I think I personally put my energy into the craft of like generating these like emotional reactions for myself. It was like, whoa, yes, based on all this music that I've loved, and I've also always loved communicating with people. I think it used to be in a much more kind of much more introverted way, and I think recently I've just really enjoyed this like expansion process. But yeah, I think no one can possibly tell you how to be you better than you know how to be you already. And yeah, and I also, it kind of goes back to the thing I was saying before, but it's like, if you really spend time imagining a reality you would love to exist in, first of all, I think you might be surprised at how much of you're already living in. And you also realise that all the components for that already exist within you, I think, to chase down. And some of these big ideas, like, maybe once I've done this, then I'll be ready to start. Or maybe when I do this, I'll be ready to start. Like, I'll just get my degree, and then I'll be ready. Or I'll just get my first like 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers, and I'll be ready. Or I'll just get a record deal, and then I'm good to go. Or like kind of anything that a lot of them postpone what's already happening, which is just a process of you growing and expanding as a human. And so I would definitely just say, like, don't wait for things to be possible before doing them. You just have to start doing them, and then they become possible as you go. And a lot of things I've done in my career, a lot of people said, you can't do that. Oh, that's never going to work. At some point, you're going to have to really like fit into the radio. Or like, you're just not, I remember people saying, you're not relatable enough, or you're not like, your clothes are too colorful, I don't like the Crocs, I don't like the thing. And it's just like, I know, right? Thank you. Yeah, I actually designed these myself. Yeah, these are the Jacob Collier Crocs limited edition. Not gonna lie. But I think all that to say is like, if you really stay true to your North Star, no one can touch you, because you are your North Star. It's already happening. It's already going on, and you're kind of just exactly where you need to be, and don't be put off by people who feel entitled to tell you to be someone that you're not, because there's no way you can be someone that you're not. Also, I mean, I can say a lot of stuff about this, but there's a difference between change and growth. People say you have to change yourself, you have to change your brand. It's just like, you can't change who you are. You can grow into who you are, and you can make decisions to prioritize that vibration and that knowing. I just love this. This is me. This feels like me. And you already kind of know that. It's like Michelangelo said this thing about sculpting, which is like, you take a piece of rock, and all you do is you just remove what's not the sculpture until it's there. You know what I mean? It was already all in there. You just need to remove what's not the thing to reveal what the thing is. And once the thing shines in that way, you cannot argue with it. It's like, that is just exactly the thing that it is. Take it or leave it. And there's something really refreshing and delightful about encountering a being or a statement that is just so itself. You know, and you're, you know, no one is for everybody. I think that's also a thing to say. And that's a delight. Like, be such a shame if you were for everybody. I mean, that means you're like the pavement, or like something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, yes. Ooh. It's like if you're for everybody, then by nature you've averaged out like principles, and I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a strange thing to say, but overarching, I just think that if you lean into the parts of yourself that do set you apart from others, then you're onto a winner, because that's where all the magic is hiding. And I love the idea of removing the layers that you don't need, of just being like, here I am again, you know. And when we're kids, I think you're just automatically that thing, and then you kind of learn to cover them up, because people are weird in the world. You know, a lot of things in the world want to shut you down and make you smaller and make you fit in, and you just have to be really gentle with yourself and really strong throughout that process, and be like, I'm just going to do things my way, and all the things that are meant for you will just come, because that's how it works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
Very good. How are we doing for time?
Yeah, I'm thinking that same thing.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. We've only been here for 20 minutes. That's great. Okay, so I definitely want to sing a little bit towards the end. So maybe we'll do like 3 more questions, and then I'll sing a song. Question from over here.
Yeah. Can you explain negative harmony?
Yeah. But, there was a time where people would ask me that question so much, but I actually haven't been asked that for a little while, so it's nice to be reintroduced. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with music. Inherently, music is designed around this idea of tension and release. This is the journey of music. Constant tension and release in different ways, different kinds of tension, different kinds of release. So, say for example, we're in D major. Can you sing a D major chord? Yeah, that's right. This is our home, D major. So there are all sorts of ways you can arrive in D major, right? And in a sense, music is derived about the different ways you can arrive in D major. Some drastic, some not drastic. So for example, if I go that arrival, love it. It's quite. Yeah, that's quite chill. Yeah. If I go. That's like spicy, I quite like that one. Or I might go to love. What does this feel like? That feels like I'm home, but I'm also not home yet at the same time. We all know that feeling. Oh, it's wonderful. That is just that's such a state of life, isn't it? Basically, it's just and different like whittling downs of that tension release. So to go back to the question about negative harmony, a lot of what drives motion in music is this idea of a cadence, right? Perfect cadence, or plagal cadence. And then there's like minor plagal cadence, and then there's other. It's like, those kinds of things. So negative harmony is a principle which is kind of built on the shoulders of lots of different kinds of musical thinkers over the years. One is Ernst Levy, who wrote a book called A Theory of Harmony. And the book, A Theory of Harmony, is about polarity in music. It's like the idea of it's a philosophical idea really, the idea that every chord or state, which is a tree, it's like a tree with branches, it also has roots which go in the opposite direction. So like what goes up, it also goes down. It's a bit like the idea of the undertone series, you know, the harmonic series that sort of goes up on a note. If I go, you hear sort of like not that good at this, but you understand. You all have these in your mouth, by the way. You can check them out later. But every note in nature has these overtones. And then also, if you flip that structure, you get undertones, which are the same relationships in reverse. And what people have found to be really interesting is the process, or like a different number of processes by which you can essentially invert the state of a chord and find the negative version of that chord. And this idea like really thrilled me when I was about 19. I was like, no way, this is so absurd. You know, you have like all these chords, and then you could just find like they have this, the negative state version of the chord. So one of the ways that Ernst describes one potential axis. There are lots of different axes by which you can flip things. It's almost like you set a mirror, and then you reflect the notes, and you see what it's like. And the one that he likes, one of the ones that he likes the best, from my understanding, is you basically take a root and the fifth of the chord, so it's a D, D and A. This is itself the mirror, and so the notes are flipped around this axis, and you find this negative state. So say, for example, this idea of, we're going back to the cadences, say you take this idea of A7, right? Which is like this chord, right? Here in D, A7. So I'm going to flip the notes as though this were the mirror. So let's say, take the note E, for example, right? If I flip E, it becomes a G, okay? If I flip G, it becomes an E. And then if I flip A, it becomes a D. And if I flip C sharp, then it becomes B flat. And so the chord we end up with is that chord. Which is really a known quantity, that chord. We understand that sound. Right? So this idea that you can negativize a perfect cadence and it becomes a minor playable cadence. And the cool thing about it is it has all the same powers or principles of motion, but things are going in the opposite direction. So, for example, in A7, the C sharp wants to rise, right? In G minor 6, which is the B flat, which is the flipped C sharp, wants to sink, right? So all the motion, all the voice leading, you could say, is intact. You know, and so that's kind of it. And you can flip any chord, and you can come up with all sorts of crazy wacko things, especially when it gets to augmented and minor, major 7 and stuff. But I will say that my kind of interest with it ended there, because I was like, cool, I've got some cool new chords and some ideas. And polarity was awesome. And so then what I did is I took from that a set of principles that I just incorporated straight into things I was making, and that's where the value lies for me. Because I've never really been too much of a theorist, like I'm going to sit and academicize ideas just for the sake of it. But I was thrilled with the results of this particular experiment. Like, yes, you know, yes, so cool, you know, and just kind of vocabulary you can extract from the chords as well. It's just amazing, so cool. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to experiment with that as an axis, root and fifth, and moving things around. But more importantly, I would just say, if you ever encounter a theory or an idea that kind of encourages interesting materials for you, like never reject anything as a place from which you can learn. Some people might be like, oh, that sounds really stuffy, and oh, that's just not my thing, which is fine, to be honest. It is a bit stuffy. But yeah, it's also really cool, and there are some really interesting ideas. And the idea of polarity is it's like actually just a good storytelling idea. You know, the idea that something goes up and it comes down, and the idea that things can have two states, you know, the bright side, the dark side. It kind of just connected with a lot of things I care about. Like this idea I have of major is actually just fifths. Sorry, we're in D. So that to me is like the most major possible to be, more than like just the D major scale. It's like fifths. The more fifths you got, the more major you become. And then minor is fourths, which is the reflection of fifths. There's the minor third. That to me is like the most minor as possible to be, right? So it's like the difference between and. So cool. Or like these kinds of sounds. Like they're found more in classical music than they are in jazz, actually. But fifths and fourths just rule, and they built. Yeah, they do actually, and they're built from. Yeah, it's built from the harmonic series basically, and it's the same principle, which is fourths of fifths upside down, and so where fifths goes one way, fourths goes the other way, and the other thing with negative harmony that you can think about a lot is this idea of in jazz. Does anyone here like jazz? Yeah. Okay. So in jazz, we have this idea a lot of the time of like 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, right? And in the negative version of that would be. Oh, sorry, that's not right. Am I going the right way? No. Okay, it'll be. No, which is really deep and cool. Yeah, really, really beautiful. And the idea, even just if it's just major chords, like this is like something like Keith Jarrett would do. So you say we're in F, Keith Jarrett's often in F. So in classical music, it'd be like, right. Let's use that. And what Jarrett often does, he goes, and plagal and plagal. Is that thing, or like, instead of. It all leads you back to the thing, but it comes from the fourth side of the circle of fifths rather than the fifth side, and that's really cool. Instead of, which is also fine. Like it just presents different options for arrival and departure. At its essence, that's how it works. No worries at all. Question.
I was wondering what your favorite track was as far as the creation process. What was most enjoyable to
Ever? Ooh. Probably Box of Stars Part 2, because there's a thing in Box of Stars Part 2 which is like almost impossible to pull off, that I'm quite proud that I pulled off, and it's this idea of do you know about shepherd tones? Yeah. So a shepherd tone is an illusion, audio illusion that never stops going up or down. Yeah. So I thought, well, surely you could make a shepherd groove, and so I made one as an experiment, which was just really fun. And the way it works is you have a groove, and in the same groove you have the same groove at double the speed, and it gradually speeds up. And as it speeds up, you turn down the key elements of the one that's speeding, the fast one, and then you speed up the slow one. So it's really hard to like demonstrate with just my mouth, but I think the way it worked was kind of like say your groove is like classic groove. So then in that groove, if you also have that's the same groove, half the speed. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, it's not a very good execution, but basically what I wanted to do, I thought that's not enough, I got to go further. And so what I thought would be really cool would be if I did that, but slowing down, but 6 times, and each time the groove like changes relay hands, it changes continent of the world of drumming style, and to have it all played with real musicians. So like not just done with MIDI, which was my first experiment. Was just like MIDI. It was much easier in that scenario. And yeah, so that's what happens with Box Stars Part 2. Basically, it's like it starts with samba. and then it morphs into, oh no, actually it starts with Cuba. It starts with Cuba, which is similar to samba in a sense. And then samba slows down. Oh, the other thing I did is I had it alternating between 3 and 4 division grooves. This is so nerdy. I don't know if this is interesting, but it's like. It was basically like that for like a minute and a half. And over the course of that, I also asked fans, maybe some of you did this, to contribute. Get up on your feet. Get up on your feet. And I said, oh, send me a video of you singing this. Did anyone do this by any chance? I'll be surprised if someone did. Okay.
You did.
You did? Yeah? Oh, no way. That's really cool. Thank you. Yeah, I just put a film on my Instagram story and I was like, sing that thing, but get up on your feet in whatever language you want. So I got 62 languages worth of get up on your feet. And they translated in a broad sense into like, wake up, get up, stand up, like pay attention, all sorts of things like this, which is actually kind of what the song is about. It's like wake up world sort of thing. And what I did in a very, very sleep deprived state in Mumbai on the day the album was due at 5 a.m. was I found all my favorite languages out of these 62, and I found 22 snippets that I liked, and I put them in time as the grooves were slowing down and in surround sound and binaural around your head. So you listen to it, it's like and all these different languages that I do not speak. But it was just a really cool experience. I think it's a cool experience as a listener to be in this crazy kind of ever-changing world, because as the grooves are changing, they're also moving around your head, which is the exact opposite of 100,000 Voices, which is the first song on the album where grooves are moving the other way. So it's like this whole circle. But as a maker of the song, that was like a really big challenge, and I assembled this crazy bunch of drummers for the Shepherd groove. And my really good friend Barak Shmuel, who's one of my old teachers, who's an amazing, amazing guy. He really helped me like pick the most suitable groove from each continent and sort of like thread them together. So we had samba, we had gnawa from Morocco, we had dol drummers from India, Peruvian style drummers, and we had djembe drumming from Guinea. And we had this Egyptian groove as well, and yeah, it was just kind of like a wild thing to make. And when I was making it, I had like a very strong sort of emotional reaction. I was going, this is so overwhelming, and it felt really kind of like, argh! And that's always a nice experience when you're making a thing. I like really need to pee, so I'm going to go pee. But talk amongst yourselves, and then when I come back, we'll sing a song. How's that sound? Be right back. Or you can run the next bit.
Love it. All right, there's a quiz on negative harmony.
I gotta go find her in the bathroom.
Actually, you could stretch break.
Get a piece of paper on his chin and that's my point. I really want to ask her. It's like with she's like the most talented. Is she gonna get up in the middle of the concert? Like, should I just like fly a paper airplane? Just wait for
Thanks for your patience, everybody. Yeah. Should we sing a song? Sounds good fun. Thank you for such lovely, thoughtful questions, such a broad variety of askers. It's really, really a joy to hang with you all, honestly. There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air. Wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us, somewhere a time for us, time to burn and time to share, time to love, time to care, somewhere we'll find a new way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving. know there's still a chance you won't be leaving with me. And afterwards we drop into a quiet little place and have a drink or two. Then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid. I love you. I can see it in your eyes. You still despise the same old lies you had the night before. Though it's true, it's just a lie for you. For me it's true, I never felt so right before. I practice every day to find some clever lines to say to make an evening come true. And then I think I'll wait until the evening gets late and I'm alone. Time is right, your perfume fills my head. The stars get red and the night sleeping. Then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid like time is right, your perfume fills my head. The stars get red and all the lights are blue. Then I go and spoil it all by saying